How you doing, mate?
That's about luck. You doing all right?
Yeah, yeah, good, man.
Good
All
stuff.
good.
I gather you're a bit of a distance away from us at the moment.
Yeah, I live in Arizona.
Wow. Okay. Because I was thinking that doesn't sound like an Arizonan accent.
No, no. It's actually two of us in the band are from the UK. So I was from Birmingham originally, a little
Yeah,
town called Redditch, just outside of Birmingham, and
I'm
Lee
aware of it.
is
Yeah.
from Isle of Wight.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So what
No
what
web
dragged
toes.
what dragged you all the way over there?
Originally music, I played in like a punk band in like 2001, American punk band, and like when they were in the UK touring and they lost their drummer, they were like, "Yo, you should come and join our band in California." And I was pretty young and naive, and I was like, "Sure, man, I'll move to America and join a punk band." And then here I am all these years later. I just kept getting sucked back to America, and so I was like, "All right, I think I'm just gonna plant some roots here."
Fair enough. So, but you got
How
stuck.
about you? How about you? Where are you coming to me from?
Glasgow.
Nice.
So my roots are northeast England, and I've been lived in Australia for a bit, Vietnam for a bit, France for a bit. Got around
Nice.
and kind of got stuck in Glasgow for some reason. I can't figure out why.
I love Glasgow. We just played there last year on the Nil tour. We always seem to do whenever we come to the UK, there always seems to be either a Glasgow or an Edinburgh show. And we absolutely love it up there. I've got some very dear friends in Glasgow that I always love to catch up with. So
So like, it's a
yeah.
nice area. It's and again, we appreciate you hitting either Glasgow, Edinburgh, and I'm sure there's some people further north as well. A few bands actually do manage to hit
I
Aberdeen
would,
again as well.
yeah, so again, used to play at the Moshulu back in the day in Aberdeen. It's closed now. One of the lads that owned it was absolute sweetheart. I think he actually moved to Australia. But yeah, used to hit the Moshulu. That was a nice independent venue. And then Inverness Ironworks. That
Yeah.
was the farthest north I've been. So yeah, I always love coming to Scotland. The show we play in Edinburgh is that Bannerman's.
We are very good friends with Ian who runs the place.
Yeah,
It's a great venue, a little
yeah.
flat with it for you to stay in and everything.
Yeah, I love him. If there's time at the end of this, I got a great story for you about Bannerman's and lowlives. But yeah,
Oh, definitely.
hoping to when we come to the UK again, hoping to definitely hit a few spots up there. So
Yeah. If you're playing there, if we do have a photographer there, I can guarantee it'll be Gary. He's
yeah,
basically part of the furniture at Bannerman's. He knows the lighting inside out. So
nice,
he'll do you good service.
awesome. I love it.
So we're at the lowlives now anyway. So let's you've got a release coming up, haven't you? Your debut album.
Yep. So debut album comes out on May 31st, and then yesterday we released the final single, "You Don't Care." So that kind of went out, yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably a little bit. It always comes out a little bit earlier than the release date in the UK, and for my friends that live in Asia and stuff, they're always like hitting me the day before, like tune's sick. So yeah, you might have had it a little bit earlier, but yeah, album's coming out. It's our debut album. Secretly, it's not our debut album because we had an album of songs that was going to be an album, and then when the pandemic hit, we decided that the better move would be to drip feed that out because we didn't know what was going to happen. So we figured like a constant stream of content was going to happen. So technically, this is our second album. And some folks actually online have put the first album together in playlists of what they think it should have run like, which is always cool to check out. But yes, officially, this is our first album, and we're really excited to finally have it out because the band's been a band for 6, 7 years, and we've kind of been nagged by people about an album and promised an album for so long, and through kind of behind the scenes reasons, through business reasons and labels and whatnot, it's taken us a long time to actually get to this point. So yeah, to think that it's just over a month away is very exciting.
Yeah, I think it's May. I want to say May 31st. So right in the tail end of next month.
Yes.
And obviously, as you said, we'll have it a few hours before you do, which is kind of a bit unfair, really.
Yeah, 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 you will.
Going back, you told me the videos there. There's been, I think, 4 videos off the album, but the last 3 are a trio. So Freaking Out, Loser, and then You Don't Care, which came out yesterday. It's the Helvis trilogy. What
Yes,
made you
so
decide to go for a story like that?
it's actually Freaking Out, Liar, and You Don't Care. And we've made so much confusion with this, right? Because Loser has its own standalone video.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Freaking Out was released DIY by us before signing with Spine Farm.
Mhm.
So technically, that was like a DIY self-release, and I think a lot of the people we're speaking to think that only Liar and Loser are the only two singles. So we've created a lot of confusion for people. But yes, it's a trilogy: Freaking Out, Liar, and You Don't Care.
Yeah.
And actually, the dude that directed it, Adam Mason, is a Brit also.
Yeah.
He shot our first ever video for Low Lives, and we just reached out to him. Like we didn't know him, but he'd done like a lot of rad videos. He'd done some stuff for AFI. He did the Alice in Chains movie.
Oh, nice.
He's done a lot of cool stuff. And so we basically said, let's reach out to Adam and see if we can do a video. We'll let him know we're a DIY band out of pocket. And this was back then, right? And he was like, I'm so into the band. He's like, I'll do a video for free. He's like, if you can find a location, I'll do a video for free. So we did the Burn Forever video in a abandoned bank vault on Hollywood Boulevard, right in the middle of Hollywood, in an old bank that my mate just happened to have keys to the building. He was looking after the building. So we managed to shoot this video in this like abandoned room in a bank vault. And Adam did that, right? And then since then, we put out a lot of singles out, did a lot of videos. I did some of the videos myself, and we didn't want to kind of ask Adam for more favors. But then when we came to this record, we've been chatting a bunch more, and we're just like, hey, we're gonna do we're gonna need 3 to 4 videos. Like, do you have any interest in working with us again? If so, what would that look like? And again, at this point, we hadn't signed a deal with Spine Farm, so we were still going out of pocket, but we were like, gave ourselves like a little bit of a budget. We just said, how much money can we all pull together
Yeah.
after paying for recording the record to make these videos? So we got a little bit of money together. It wasn't a whole lot. And we talked to him, and he said, you know what? He said, how about we talked to him, we approached him about one video and we said we got this much, and he said, how about if you can get like this much, which was a little bit more. He said, I've got a friend that has a script. He's been in some cool stuff. He said, how about I do 3 videos. He said, but we'll make it a trilogy. We'll shoot it all in one go.
Mhm.
He said, we'll have a script. And we'll kind of make it into like a short movie, and we'll use the dialogue. And we were like open to it. So the script started bouncing around. And so Cyrus Arnold, who has been in, like, if you look up his IMDb, he's been in a ton of stuff. Zoolander 2, he's the kid in Zoolander 2. Um, so basically, he had this idea for this character, Helvis, and he worked with Adam to develop the script. And so then he ended up pulling some of his friends in. So, we have like a ton of people in it that have been in some significant things, everything from Westworld to Napoleon Dynamite. And yeah, it ended up just kind of snowballing. And yeah, the script about Helvis, is obviously this character Justin that's having kind of like, he's got kind of an imaginary friend or like a dark side to his personality. And
Mhm.
I'm going to be honest with you, reading the script, like at first I was like, man, this is heavy. And as someone that I personally manage a lot of internal dialogue myself, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, whoa, this is like a trip, like I definitely don't have any imaginary friends, but just this kid, like, and I said to Adam, I was like, man, I was like, we always envisioned our videos being somewhat in the Foo Fighters vein, like Dave Grohl does like
Mhm.
these really cool videos, and they've just got this real tongue-in-cheek thing to it. You think about all those early Foos videos, right? The big hands, I mean, he's like slapping people with a big hand, or like,
Yeah.
learning to fly and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, he's like, this is intended as tongue in cheek. He's like, it doesn't come across tongue in cheek coming off the paper. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It reads pretty heavy. And so when we shot it, he kind of explained about the tongue in cheek. And so for me, like at that point, it was a bit of a wing and a prayer. I was like, man, I don't want this to be like super heavy because the music's super heavy. I want it to be juxtaposed with, like some humor, right? Like the
Mhm.
lyrics and the lyrical content to Low Lives can be a bit downer and heavy sometimes. And it turned out just that, man. Like everything from the actual Elvis mask to just kind of like his behavior and his delivery in a lot of things, um, to sort of like how grandma is, how grandma's finished off with the noodles. Like the tongue in cheek kind of came back over. And so, yeah, basically it was their kind of brainchild with the script. And we just, I think we were supposed to be featured in it more in terms of acting, but the problem is we all live far away from each other, and we used the entire filming days on location doing band and all the internal stuff. So a lot of the actual shooting of the stuff that's not internal, where the band's playing at the end, is actually shot when we weren't there. And so we were supposed to have some kind of like little bits, and we just weren't able to get back into town to shoot those. So it kind of ended up how it was. But yeah, it was interesting to read the script and then now view how it's turned out. Like it's turned out more how we'd have wanted it than when reading the script. But Cyrus is you'll see we're going to start drip feeding out in a few days some more B-roll and behind the scenes of kind of Cyrus ad-libbing. Like he had the script, but he also ad-libbed so much, and his friend his friend is also in it playing one of the main characters, and them two kind of riff with each other so well.
Mhm.
So we're going to be posting some funny stuff over the next few days of them two riffing. But yeah, it was weird to do it because I've never done anything like that,
Mhm.
but it was all working with friends and turned out great. So
It's interesting that something that's essentially started out as a way of saving some money by doing them all at once has ended up being
yeah,
a much bigger and probably more effective project than you would
it
ever
was. It was
appreciate.
collaborative actually because Cyrus wanted to get this script done,
Mhm.
and Adam was like, "I would love to help you get it done. I don't know how." I don't know how we would get this funded, right? And then like we're trying to do a music video, and so we had the conversation. We're like, all right, do these two things work together, right? Because effectively we'd be funding the shooting,
Yeah.
he'd get it done, we'd get it applied to a music video, and so it was just kind of the marriage of two kind of creative projects that actually worked out. And so yeah, we figured having a trilogy would make a bit more splash than just doing another video of like us in a warehouse playing music with some cool lights and smoke, right? Like, that, I mean, low budget, that's really all that you can really get these days. So we tried to be a little bit more exploratory and open with what we could do with the limited budget. And yeah, I think what we did kind of made a little bit more of a splash than if we'd have just done a regular performance video.
Yeah, well, I said not everybody has the budget of OK Go to rattle off a video.
No, mate, and their videos are wicked. I will always look forward to their videos.
Yeah, if anybody's looking for playlists and wants to see amazing music videos, whether you like the music or not, and to be fair, it's pretty good music.
Yeah,
OK
it
Go's
is
videos are
phenomenal.
the gold standard.
They
You,
are
you don't get much better.
100%.
Absolutely
Yeah,
incredible.
absolutely agree.
You talk about the music and the lyrics. You did say you can be quite heavy and quite dark with lyrical content.
Yeah,
Is this something which I don't know how much input you have with the lyrics,
yeah,
but is this something that kind of is cathartic? Is it something where you're writing from experience? Are you trying to
yeah.
relate to your audience? Why do you write songs which have that kind of story or meaning behind them?
Yeah, so good question. So uniquely, I'm not sure this happens in a lot of other bands, but I have a lot of input in the lyrics.
Mhm.
Both me and Lee tend to write, well, both me and Lee write all the lyrics, but it's usually, there's a few songs where Lee has written the entire lyrics, and
Mhm.
there's a few songs where I've written the entire lyrics. For the most part, it's usually like 50-50 collaborative. And I'll get to the writing the whole lyrics in a minute because Lee wrote all of the lyrics to probably my favorite song on the record and the song that gives me the most chills still every time I listen to it. But yeah, I mean, so on this record, we were kind of writing a lot of the songs in 2019 through 2020.
Mhm.
And so 2019 was a bad year for the band anyway. Like we lost a lot of momentum. We had some changes on the business side. We couldn't get shows. Things were like heavy, right? And we were kind of just like questioning a lot. So I think a lot of stuff comes from like fractured relationships, in that situation. So I think a lot of kind of like music was written in that time with this kind of angst of like we didn't know what the future would be of the band. And then obviously rolling into the pandemic, like early 2020, we
Mhm.
managed to break out of that kind of like stall. We got a tour with New Year's Day. We started self-releasing music, um, and the momentum picked back up, right? But we started on that tour like right at the beginning of February, and that led into March.
And then
And so March of that year was when things like right as I was leaving, so like December 2019, I seen this like little bit on the news about like some people are sick with this thing and they don't know what it is, right? And I was kind of like, oh, that's grim, man. Like I literally in my mind was like, I hope this isn't like SARS again happening, right? And then like I kind of like I do kind of watch the news, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I have some outlets that I subscribe to, so I was kind of monitoring it. In early January, I was kind of like, oh, this could be a thing, right? Nothing had been come to the States at that point, and then we get this tour, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, right? Like, there's this thing kind of low key flaring up in the background, and we've got a tour, and so I said to my wife, I said, this is going on. It's weird. I'm going on this tour. I was just like, just keep an eye on it. I've got kids, so like I think of like my mind goes to extremes. Like my anxieties of being a parent are like so like accentuated 10 times more than my like daily anxieties when I wasn't a parent. So I was kind of like, yeah, just keep an eye out. Like maybe go to the shop and get some kind of like cans of food and it that I just who knew that the shelves were going to be bare in the future and there's going to be no toilet roll and no one's going to be able to wipe their bum, right?
Yeah.
But like
Of all
I
the things for
said,
people to get freaky about, it's like I can't eat. I'm kind of okay with that one, and we can get water from somewhere. But if I can't wipe my ass, I'm going to stab somebody. Yeah.
100%, right?
You know what?
The ass wiping was the real catalyst.
They're on leaves, people.
It's extreme. Like couldn't go hop in the shower and wash your bum. But yeah, it basically so then we left on that tour and there's actually I think we cleaned out our Instagram, but there was actually a couple of posts from that tour that are pretty funny because the whole UK tour, it was kind of on the news, but we weren't stressing about it, right? And everything was great. We got momentum back. We're getting some plays on the radio, and it's like, cool, we're back. We're doing shows. The shows are going great. And then we went to Paris, and we got to Paris, and when we got there, it basically was like there was 42 cases of COVID in Paris. And it was all over the news, and we got to Paris on a day off. So we're staying in like the shittiest hotel, right? It's like like a four bunk room and the news is on in there like I could a little bit of French would still come back to me from school and I was kind of like this is kind of weird, like I think we got problems, man. So we're all stressing out there now, bathing in freaking hand sanitizer, curious if the shows are going to get cancelled, and the shows didn't get cancelled. And so we were like, man, and two of us were parents. We're like, man, will we ever be able to get back to America if like we get exposed to COVID? And so anyway, the show goes on. We go around Europe. More shows start getting cancelled. We fly back to America on my birthday, which is March 11th, and that was when like Trump was on the TV saying like we're closing all like European flights to America like whilst we were on the plane. So it was nuts. And so then yeah, we land back in America. We go back home to our families, and then obviously now we're going into an extended period of like uncertainty for the world, let alone music. And so more music was getting written during that time. Me and Leah sending back demos and lyrics and stuff. And I think like, a lot of relationships bit the dust in the pandemic, like people's personal relationships, business relationships, like fractured friendships, like because people were like, this other side of people was coming out where they get cabin fever and like, kind of freaking out. And so like, I think between those 2 years, a lot of the creativity that we made was kind of like not deliberately kind of like, hey, let's talk about negative topics or broken relationships or anxieties of things that are going on. It was just in the subconscious. So naturally it was coming out in the art form.
Yeah.
And so we ended up with a lot of like stuff on the record that was like, felt heavier, you know what I mean? Like there's a couple tunes that are like a little bit more lighter. But still, I mean, like even Loser, right? Like Loser's kind of on the lighter end, but it's still about two fuck ups, you know what I mean? who arguably probably could have been together in the pandemic doing each other's head in. So yeah, I think some of the heavier stuff probably came out through the subconscious. Like when I think about songs that we wrote lyrics for previously, right? It was more generic things. Like if you take our old song Black Hole, right? Like the lyrics on that, like I kind of wrote about, in my mind about the things that are important, right? Like, and so Black Hole is literally about these things in space that could swallow us at any time, right? But we're here worried about our Instagram followers and our selfies and like, climbing the work ladder, or like we're losing value of the importance of things in life, right? And I think that for me in some of my old bands, when we play extremely big shows, I would get stage nerves.
Mhm.
And the one way that I was always able to snap myself out of stage nerves was to realize that what I was about to do was kind of insignificant in the scheme of things, in what's going on in space, and like, asteroids flying around, black holes, right? Like we get a little bit self-obsessed and sometimes need to remove ourselves with the grand picture, man. Like, what I'm about to do is insignificant to, if an asteroid hit Earth, or if the Earth got swallowed by a black hole, or any, and so I think like some of the content with our previous writing, and sometimes in the current writing, is rooted in that kind of thought process, right? We get so obsessed in our own little bubbles these days, and there's greater problems in the world, or greater problems in the universe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, but that's where I'm at.
That's right. Just